Wow, what a race that was. That was an unbelievable event at the Bass Pro Shops NRA night race. Finally settled into my new dorm. Very nice, very future looking. Looks like, no, I'm just kidding. It looks very nice compared to my other dorms, but still going to do videos, and let's recap last night's Bass Pro Shops NRA night race. Number one, Denny Hamlin, who was the pole sitter of the race, flat out at the beginning of the race, looked so strong and nobody could pass him. But the first caution of the race, he was a part of it after Austin Dillon blew a right front tire in turns 1 and 2, hit the wall, run behind by Jimmy Johnson, and Johnson hit Hamlin, and that dinged Hamlin's right side up, and he had to come from behind. He fell 2 laps down, actually, pitted under green, got both of those laps back, and made an unbelievable drive to the end against Matt Dibenedetto to pass him for the win and win the Bass Pro Shops NRA night race over Dibenedetto, Brad Keselowski, Kyle Busch, and Chase Elliott. Remarkable performance by Denny Hamlin. He definitely looks like he is going to be a championship contender by the playoffs time. And I think he's going to be in the Final Four at Homestead. If he keeps this up and keeps earning playoff points with these wins, he's going to be on fire. Number 2, Matt Dibenedetto. I feel so bad for him, honestly. I mean, you know, I really like Matt Dibenedetto very much. I didn't have him in my playoff grid, but that sucks. 93 laps led, and his first ever top 10 game at this track for a team that doesn't even exist anymore. He almost won this race with a team that's given him a brand new opportunity to showcase his talent and show him what he's got, and just so close. And it's been a really tough week for Matt Dibenedetto because Levine Family Racing just announced they're not going to renew his contract for next season, so he's going to be in a different ride for 2020, which sucks because the last few weeks, the 95 team has been looking competitive. They've been in the top 10. They've been close to the top 5. They almost won this race. It just so sucks for Matt Dibenedetto, and he tried to hold it in his interview at the post-race. I mean, he was pretty upset, but he says, I'm not going to stop fighting until I win, and that's true determination by this man. And I hope a big team can pick him up. Jeff Burton actually said after the race, if nobody picks up Matt Dibenedetto, they're making a mistake. People will make a mistake if they don't pick up Matt Dibenedetto for next season. So somebody needs to get out there and get Matty D because he is worthy of a top ride in this sport. Number 3, Kyle Busch didn't have the dominant performance like I thought he would at Bristol, but it was tough anyways. He started 31st, had a pretty bad qualifying effort Friday night. Tried to work his way to the front early in the race last night with Jimmy Johnson, but eventually he got lapped. He got his lap back, and with track position and strategy, he was able to take the lead and hold it for a little bit against Brad Keselowski. But it seemed like on the long runs, Kyle Busch really wasn't that strong. He's mostly a short-run car, and then even on the restarts, he couldn't really get going, so that kind of kills momentum to try and win the race. But it still was a good performance by the 18 car. I mean, Kyle Busch at this track is one of the greats, honestly. Number 4, the bubble drivers coming into this race. Now that it's complete, 2 races to go, we're looking at who's going to be in a good position to make it and who's going to be left on the outside looking in. As far as the winners, as far as points last night, honestly, they were Daniel Suarez and Clint Bowyer. Suarez, with 9 stage points in Stage 2, finished with a top 10 run in 8th place. And Clint Bowyer, who had to recover from a spin early on, rebounded with a solid 7th place. The problem is with Suarez earning more stage points than Bowyer, Bowyer's 2 points outside the playoffs right now. I think he can reach that, honestly, but he's going to have to do better than Suarez the next 2 races. And the sad thing is, they're both teammates. Now, Ryan Newman, who people have been kind of criticizing, saying ruined Matt Dibenedetto's run last night because he held him up in the traffic, and Newman's the toughest guy to pass. He kind of had a good night. He got some stage points, but it really wasn't major points night for Newman. He's only 14 points above the cut line. That's not much, so anything can happen in the next 2 races. But the big loser was Jimmy Johnson. These last few weeks, ever since Cliff Daniels became his crew chief, things have not gone right for this team. They looked to be good early on driving through the field, but they were, you know, in a precarious position earlier when they ran to the back of Austin Dillon when he blew their right front tire. He lost 2 laps. He kept taking wave rounds to get a lap back, and he did, but eventually go more laps down. He finished 19th. Folks, it looks like a must-win for Jimmy Johnson, and I don't know if it's going to happen. We got to find out the next 2 races. And number 5, the racing itself. Bristol Motor Speedway, I applaud them for putting the PJ1 substance on the bottom as an option for drivers to run down there instead of running the top the entire night. We saw a lot of passing on the bottom and the top. At the beginning of the race, everybody hugged the bottom and hugged the PJ1 stuff. Then as we got deeper into the race, people started running at the top of the racetrack, and people could pass from bottom and top, so it was a fairly competitive race. Not a lot of crashes like last year, even though there were a few restarts where it led up to big wrecks and taking out a couple people, guys that are trying to, point their way in, or guys that are just wanting to, try to find a way to basically must win. It was a pretty competitive race from the sides of running the bottom or the top. So, Bristol, I applaud you for putting down the PG1 substance. It was wonderful. A couple of other things. Driver recap. Chase Elliott, solid night, 5th place finish. In his post-race interview, said, we were really good at the beginning, but, we kind of struggled mid-race. And the end, we were top 5 car the entire night. If they call it a struggle, then it's a good struggle, honestly. So, a solid night for the 9 team. 3 weeks in a row. He's back on track with top 10 finishes. The win at Watkins Glen, the 9th place finish last week in Michigan, and the 5th place run last night. Chase Elliott's going in the right direction and almost won a stage if he didn't get beat by Kyle Larson, but Larson ended up getting him. Still, nonetheless, a solid performance by the 9 team. A couple of other things to point out. David Reagan announced earlier this week that he will be retiring from full-time competition at the end of the season, which kind of sucks because David's one of the good boys in NASCAR, and of course, 2 big wins of his career, the July night race at Daytona for Roush Fenway, and then Bob Jenkins' first win as a car owner for Front Row Motorsports in 2013 at Talladega, with his teammate David Gilliland helping him out in a David ×2 versus Goliath story. It's kind of sucks to see David Reagan go. He says he's not going to retire completely. He's going to maybe do a couple races. I think one of them's going to be the Daytona 500. But I'll miss David Reagan for sure. He was a really good guy, and, people mostly going to remember him for the guy that choked the next to last restart of the Daytona 500 by changing lanes, which is a no-no. But I remember him as one of the good old boys and just a kind man. And also, if you did not watch Thursday's news, Dale Earnhardt Jr. en route to Bristol Motor Speedway, because he's part of the NASCAR and NBC telecast team, landing him, his wife, Amy, their 1-year-old daughter, Isla, and the 2 pilots and the family dog were skidding off the runway as they were landing, and the plane crashed. Thankfully, nobody was injured. They were all okay. The good Lord was looking out for Dale Earnhardt Jr., folks, because if you see the images of that plane crash, you cannot believe that they even survived that. But they all did. Everybody was okay. Jr. went to hospital. He was cleared. Then he was sent to Bristol Motor Speedway. And then NBC told him, take the week off, be with your family, and we'll see you in Darlington. So that was a smart decision, and I think it was the right decision. And Dale Jr., I hope you're doing well, and we hope to see you again at the track in a couple weeks. And we hope you're doing well, and so is your family. So, off week for the Cup Series coming up, and then they'll be back in action for the Bojangles Southern 500, Darlington Speedway, the throwback weekend, the greatest tradition of ever, the Lady in Black, the track too tough to tame. People are going to be grazing off the wall and get a Darlington stripe. But 2 races to go before the playoffs start. Who's going to win? Who's going to make it in? Who's going to be left on the outside looking in? That are all those questions. They'll be answered hopefully next week, if not, in 2 weeks. If not, then Indianapolis. So I hope everybody enjoyed the Bristol night race. So subscribe, like, congrats to Denny Hamlin, Dale Earnhardt Jr. We hope you're doing well. And what a race it was last night at Bristol. It did not disappoint. Until then, I'll see you next time.